And since
That's right.
you mentioned tabletop games as well, one thing I really like about the team's design philosophy is that they're understanding that you don't need to fix what isn't broken. So
Yeah, that's right.
keeping what works from classic MMOs while infusing them with new ideas that make sense. So because of this, some people at first glance may be inclined to believe that Pantheon will just be an updated EQ clone. But can you explain what makes Pantheon more than just a reskinned classic MMO?
Yeah, sure. So this is a big one, and it's kind of hard to kind of consolidate it into one answer. But we do have a section on our forums that tries to do that. It breaks it down into our certain systems. It's called the Pantheon Difference. So at pantheonmmo.com, you can go over to click on that link down the bottom, and you'll see a brief description on like our atmosphere and climate systems. We've got dynamic NPCs, powerful spells and abilities. We've got the progeny system. We've got quite a few there to kind of, I think, help us stand out, from other games, and show how we want to progress forward, how we want to immerse you in, and the systems and features that we're going to use to do that. And we haven't gone into a lot of detail on a lot of them. We have gone into, powerful spells and abilities you've seen in our streams with the Living Codex, and you've seen, we haven't shown you the progeny or anything yet. We've still got a little bit to go on that before we release any more details, but we've got the coloured mana system you guys saw in the stream, where the mana bar fills up if you have your gem, situational gear, which we will talk more on a little bit later, and the perception system, which we showed off as well. So, which I think is really cool, the perception system.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's not in your face, kind of just, telling you what to do. It's these really kind of passive, kind of like a thought you're having, just raises on the screen and gives you a clue or an idea as to something that may be in that area. And it's still up to you to find it. We're not going to give you directions or point the way or sprinkle a little gold dust trail right to it. Like you have to look for it, find it. You've got to work out what it means. Some of them are going to be very cryptic, and some of them will be, not so much in the start. But I think all of these systems and mechanics that come together to create like a really cool, immersive environment that I think everyone's going to really enjoy. So I can't wait.
I think the fantastic thing about the perception system is just going back to classic tabletop games like D&D and things like that. That was, an integral part of playing those style of games. That was how you found things. And integrating it into an MMO, the best thing about it is it encourages you to spend more time out adventuring than going from quest hub to quest hub, just, picking up 10 boar hides for somebody and just kind of going from one place to the other. It encourages you to get out there and find these things for yourselves and sort of create your own adventure rather than just bouncing around from the quest hubs that they designate as, this is level 1 through 5, this is level 6 through 10. It will let you kind of get out there and forge your own adventure.
Yeah, that's it, man. Exactly.
So currently we're seeing a few new MMOs popping up that are being designed to appeal to the niche market. Many people consider us to be on the cusp of an MMO renaissance. In what way do you feel the creation of these types of games will help progress the MMO genre forward?
So again, and I don't really think that we're niche. I think that I think we're kind of slightly outside that realm, because we appeal to a wide range, a wide audience. We do have, it is targeted and selective, but I think it's a lot bigger than people think. I don't think it's quite niche anymore. I think there's a lot of people coming back to, wanting the Pantheon experience that they used to have in other games. And I think it's important to realize that we've got people of all ages too. We've got people, like when people started EverQuest, a lot of people were young. They're in their teens to 20s to even some in 30s. But we've now got teens and people in their 20s and they're taking a look at Pantheon. You can see them on the forums. They're across Facebook and our Twitter. And I think it's important to embrace that and all come together, which is important as a community, but also to know that we're covering a larger audience than first anticipated. And I think, in addition to the Pantheon differentiators, the return to social, cooperative, and team-orientated gameplay moves the genre forward, because developers are able to focus on retention and healthy communities and player-driven economies, which we also think is very, very important.
Yeah, and the great thing about that too is bringing in people that maybe didn't get the opportunity to experience classic EQ in its prime. So maybe they don't
Yeah,
quite know what they're in for getting into a game like this, but they have the same kind of things that they're kind of like, I'm sick of how the games right now are doing certain things, and I've heard everybody say, man, EQ is
yeah.
one of the best. And so they're getting to
Mm,
experience kind of the core systems that were in those games while still experiencing a fresh new MMO that's doing things to progress the genre farther than maybe any other game out today is doing. So they get kind of the
that's
best of
right.
both worlds in that regard.
Yeah, you get a lot of people in these games these days saying they're too easy, they're too solo.
Yeah,
We heard the older games were, a lot harder, a lot more challenging. We want to experience that. So, well, with Pantheon, they're going to be able to. So we think that we're kind of we've got a lot of our own, new mechanics and systems and features and that too that we're implementing. So we're kind of, as each game, progresses over the years, we would like to think that Pantheon is also progressing. We're, taking a step forward in the genre, even though we keep a lot of the mechanics and features that we know worked well, as we spoke about before. That if it's not broke, don't fix it. And
absolutely.
we think, just evolving on some of those into our own kind of features and using the technology available to us in 2016 to move the game forward. So we're really excited. It's coming along really well, and I think it's going to be something that we enjoy for many years, many years. You can call Pantheon home.
Oh, absolutely. I can guarantee everybody in the community is just as excited, if not more. We're anxiously awaiting
Yeah,
it.
yeah, man, absolutely.
So one thing that I'm curious about is if you can explain the decision not to launch with any kind of fast travel, aside from ground mounts and abilities like so, what other, if any, means of fast travel can we expect to see in Pantheon?
Okay, so I know Brad spoke about this, and I think it was misunderstood. So there will be certain classes that will have the ability to teleport players across, overland distances,
Okay.
assuming the player has travelled there, themselves at least once. It won't be. I don't know how we're going to handle that yet, but there will be kind of, areas or maybe points to unlock, points of interest, or yeah, could be
It's
a
almost like,
statue or something.
yeah, it's almost like getting keyed to the location so you don't just skip
Kind
everything
of,
that it
kind
takes
of,
to get there. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that makes
That's
sense.
right. So you won't be able to pinpoint straight to a mob's location or straight to the door of a dungeon or something, but you'll still have to travel. Once you teleport, but it'll cut a lot of the distance out for you. Um, we're thinking about caravan system, which provides offline travel. We had that in Vanguard. If anyone's played that, caravan was. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a good way to keep people together.
Yeah.
We can make changes and make that suit Pantheon a little bit better. But it was a way to join a group, and basically, if you had to log off and your party travelled somewhere, then when you logged back on, you would be where that party was. So you didn't have to waste 3 hours of your life travelling to your group to then start a dungeon or whatnot. So if you're away for a day or sick or
Hmm.
working or anything, it's just a way to kind of keep people together. But yeah, again, we'll look at tweaking that to see how we can make it best suit our community in the game. There will also be class abilities that help with venturing in dungeons, like resurrection and call to hero type spells.
Hmm.
So you can teleport, obviously, to summon a player to the location, but it would just depend. It won't be every dungeon. It's
Hmm.
most likely won't be outdoors, other than resurrect. Only limited classes will have resurrect. There won't be, every class resing everybody. You'd think typically that a healer would have that kind of
Hmm.
that spell equipped. Which ones we're not too sure on yet. We're not really going to speak about that. That'll be something we can discuss going into testing. But yeah, so there will be a ways to get around the world without just running endlessly for hours and wasting your hour playtime running or trying to travel. There will be multiple ways. Plus, we've spoken about boats and things like that later
Hmm.
on. So things that we're excited about.
Absolutely. We've all had our time waiting for the boats. So that's a good
Oh yeah.
that's a good time to even strike up a conversation too, though. Just sitting there, you get time to
Absolutely.
manage your bags or look at your spell books. Or I think downtime
That's
in,
it.
in games has kind of gotten a bad reputation lately. But there's something to be said for a little bit of downtime, whether you're waiting for spawns or waiting for the boat. Those are all the circumstances where you meet the best friends, because you
That's
have
exactly
nothing
right.
else to do except strike up a conversation and get to know the people you're playing with. And I think some people that only really know the current fast-paced queue up, instantly get in the dungeon, that kind of thing, they never really experienced that. So they're not quite sure how to take seeing that, Pantheon has designed downtime integrated into the game, things like that. But
That's
I'm
it.
really excited for it, because that's how you make friends, that's how you socialize. So I think
That's it.
that's
You could
perfect.
just comment on someone's gear, like, wow, that's an awesome shield. Where did that drop? Where did you get that? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we did this dungeon, over in this area, and this named mob dropped it or something like that. So you're like, cool, put that down on your list to go and visit, and
Hmm.
things like that. There's just, yeah, I think downtime is really important. It's you don't want to be waiting obviously for half your play session, but
Yeah, yeah.
little increments of waiting. It gives, as you said, opportunity to engage and socialize with your community, your fellow players, and I think that's important.
So speaking of awesome looking gear, one of my favorite things about EverQuest is the class specific epic weapon quests. Are there any plans
Yeah.
to include something similar in Pantheon?
So yeah, the short answer is yes. I got this from our team, and although we can't go too much into the details, we have discussed. I think Mr. Perkins, Jopper, spoke about this quite a while ago, about having epic quests and making them truly epic, and having multiple epic quests for different items. Not just weapons, but pieces of gear too is a possibility. So we're not locked on any one thing at the moment, but I think the short answer is yes. I think it's too early to discuss specifics. However, class-based quests and rewards are a high priority for us. So class-specific content that helps reinforce the flavor and concepts of a class. It'd be a missed opportunity not to provide those moments to our players.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. I can't wait to get in and take on those epic quests.
Yeah, me
So,
too.
so since we're already talking about gear and awesome looking gear and things like that, what's the concept behind the appearance of gear in Pantheon, and how will the gear evolve visually, and what changes in design can we expect as the character gets better equipment?
Okay, so this is another one I'm reading because this is off the team as well. This is off Corey. So he's working really closely with our classes and NPCs and that. So characters, sorry, can expect to start with like little more than rags on their back, some simple trail food, and some rusty weapons as they begin their journey. So there will be higher quality and more ornate gear as players progress, with visually distinct options based on what factions or races a player might choose to align themselves with, which I think that's exciting within itself. I like
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
faction-based kind of things. Different looks to differentiate them between each other. The materials that make up an item, for an example, the type of leather, metal, wood, cloth, etc., and the level of skill required to create the finished product will also play a role in the item's appearance, which I also, being a crafter myself as well as an
Yeah.
adventurer and a raider, I think that's awesome. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to have crafted items that are really meaningful, and especially if you require that, there's a material in there that you need to get that requires you to take on some difficult mobs or situations, just makes it even more awesome,
Yep.
because you not only have to get the skill to craft it, but you also have to have the skill to acquire the item in the first place, which makes it twice as valuable, in my opinion. So
Exactly.
that's very cool.
Absolutely. And to be able to tell it apart, you'd be able to look at someone and know, wow, that's a top level master crafted item, or, you
Yeah.
use this material that's really rare or hard to get, or it's defended by, really dangerous mobs. Like, I think that's really cool to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the UI. What's VR's current stance on UI mods? And are there any plans to allow users to create custom mods? And if so, what will the limitations be?
Okay, so the mods at this stage, and this again, this is a subject that I brought up and was already brought up in the forums, and there's a lot of discussion on this, and it's great to see so many different opinions. There's a lot of pros and cons, for and against. So far, like, we haven't completely put our foot down and decided, but at this stage, we're looking to have a basic level of custom skinning support for the UI.
Okay.
But we won't be looking to support scripting or modding for release. So at this stage, which means you can change, you can skin your UI and change it, but I don't think it's going to allow you to add too many new things or features to it to gain an advantage or anything like that, because we don't want people making little maps or little markers to tell you where to go and what to do in game. If you want to hand draw them or create a website for that, have it up on a second monitor and be able to look at hand drawn player maps, brilliant. That's awesome. We love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Community coming together to help each other out. The option is still there to ignore that for the players who want to immerse themselves and not take part in hints or help like that. But we don't think that allowing in-game add-ons and things like that will, benefit the game. We think it'll kind of take away from the gameplay and the community aspect and the socialization. So, yeah, at this stage, basic level of custom skinning for the UI, and that's pretty much about it.
That's great to hear, though. I think that's perfect because there's too many mods out there that almost let you autopilot throughout the game, or things that tell you what boss is going to do what ability when, and it's timers everywhere, and it's like, man, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? Because you're just doing what it tells you to do at that that point in the game. So that's
Absolutely,
fantastic.
Man.
Well, that's it for part 2. I hope you guys are enjoying the interview so far. And please, before you jump over to the next part, be sure to like this video. Your support really helps me out a lot. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be continuously updating you on what's going on with Pantheon's development. And with that, I'll see you guys over in part 3.